Well, greetings, everyone. Hope you're doing well today. Our lesson, in fact, it'll be a two-part lesson, is entitled Faith Proverbs from the Past. And I'm going to do two lessons on this, as I said, and it'll be about, 6 or 7 of them per lesson because I want to explain each one of them. Um, in the hustle and bustle of modern life, we often, I know for me, myself, I forget sometimes the most simplest wisdom can come from the most humblest places. I mean, a little child can say something that's so insightful. But also, as I grew up, I remember my parents would have sayings that I adopted, and then I'd go visit my grandparents, and they would say things that were just, some were really amusing. And I'd ask my grandmother, what did you say? What did that mean? Whatever it may be. And she'd just cackle and try to explain it. She said, that's what we always said, about certain things. But each of these wisdoms, these sayings from the past, have a very significant wisdom depth about them, meaning that there's a truth behind it. There is a proverbial insight of each one of those that came from experiences and came from life in sometimes the most simplistic ways and sometimes the hardest ways. As you go further back, there's less inventions, if you will, and they had to really make it on their own. And so when you go into the rural life, a lot of these farms would have, with agricultural gardens, things of this nature, they would have these sayings that would go with that environment as a simple way of life. Now, the roots of them are long gone, and these have changed. But their meaning just transcends time and context. I mean, it really stands out. I just love these sayings, and I'm going to share with some for you. Now, we look at the Bible, and the Bible is just full of wisdom and advice on everyday life. And there are one-line sayings, and there's little parables that Jesus made very famous by illustrating certain things like that. Well, anyway, I sat down one evening, and I reflected on some quotes and tidbits that my parents and my grandparents may have used to teach me about the truth and how uncomplicated living really is. And I try to make it so much harder today. And I reflected on these country brogue sayings and pictured them in times past of walking with me through the woods and picking berries or swinging on the front porch, rocking chair or whatever, and working in the garden next to my grandparents and just listen to them talk. And during these times, these sayings, remembered and shared from one generation to another, was spoken. And I wish I could remember them all, but as time goes by, I don't say them or use them many times, but I do know, I remember them as they are said. But here are a few that are stuck in my mind, and you may have heard them yourselves. My parents came from, at least my mother came from Louisiana, so there's a Louisiana version of that. My dad born in Tennessee, raised in Arkansas, so there's that side of the fence. And we all grew up in the Texas, so there's a little culture side there. But wisdom comes in all sorts and sizes, does it not? And insights. So let's dig into these sayings, at least a few of them anyway, that have endured, offering their insights and practicality to anyone who will listen. Also, I want to use a wonderful book of the Bible that we just skim over and take pieces out of, but never study it in total, and that is the book of Proverbs. Just to see who the author, Solomon, says in his great wisdom, which he's famous for, about everyday life that would relate to these country sayings. So I'm going to bring those two worlds together, of biblical sayings that really are reflective of the same thing that we've been saying, or at least our grandparents and parents have said down through the years. Let's start with number one and see if you've heard this before. Your fences need to be horse high, pig tight, and bull strong. You ever heard that? Well, what it means is that our lives need to be strong to withstand temptations and attacks. So our fences need to be really well made. Now, I reached into Proverbs, I brought from 110, says this: my son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. That's pretty blunt, is it not? Keep your fence tight. I never really thought about this one very much until right now. I've heard that so often, but I never thought about it. When I was younger, I didn't own any horses or pigs or a bull, so I just blew it off in the midst of an important lesson, but oh well, it's not really application to my life. Our fences need to be built efficiently enough to deal with all situations. By fences, I interpret this to be our morals, our values, our ethics, our spiritual beliefs, or anything else that's important in our life. We have got to keep them intact and keep them strong. These critical fences need to be strong enough to contain my weaknesses that I have, that I tend to allow these other things into my life that shouldn't be there, and defend me from the temptations from without, whatever they may be, that's trying to get into my life. I need to keep myself on guard and disciplined in what I believe in and hold fast to in those beliefs. And I do this by being aware of those temptations and decisions that I make. So I need to be spiritually on guard that these are coming at me all the time, from within and from without. Here goes number 2. Keep skunks and bankers and lawyers at a distance. I love that one. Well, the meaning is this: be on guard from things and people who appear helpful but can be very dangerous. Now, I reach into Proverbs 4th chapter where it says, hold on to instruction. Do not let it go. Guard wisdom because she is your life. Oh, Solomon hit it right there well. When I was a younger boy, only the skunk part really made any sense to me. But now that I'm an experienced adult in life, the other parts makes a lot of sense now. I suppose the saying needs to be taken into historical context with the Great Depression. And when making a living off the land was really extremely hard and fragile to do that. But the point is, one must be on guard on things and people who appear on the outside innocent and not dangerous. All smiles, all like, let me help you. We accept face value so easily and don't take the time to see other agendas and dangers our instincts tells us, and our wisdom given by God and through our experiences, the alarm bells go off and we don't listen to them. Just remember, when the nice looking and sounding skunk lifts its tail, you will discover its agenda real fast. Then you will disco or that, or you will look that way and smell just like the skunk. God put a lot of work into you, so keep it pure. All right, let's get to the third one. Life is simpler when you plow around the stump. Think about it, that's true. Meaning, sometimes it's easier to avoid problems than to confront them directly. Just avoid them. Proverbs 18 says this: whoever is lazy regarding his work is also a brother to the master of destruction. Oh, Solomon did it again, did he not? So why do we knock our heads against a brick wall? Why do we make life so hard? Why do we make life harder than it was intended in our lives? I have a son who makes an art out of beating his head against a symbolic brick wall. If there's a hard way to do it, he'll choose it. And then he wonders why his decisions hurt so bad. And then he does it all over again. It's just the way he encounters life. So the phrase is, life is simpler when you plow around the stump, is steeped in the practical wisdom of the farming lifestyle. Now, on a farm, when a farmer encounters a stubborn stump in the field, it's a lot easier and less time-consuming to just simply plow around it than trying to remove it completely, which takes up a lot of time and effort. This strategy allows a farmer to continue his work without completely mired down in a potentially exhausting and complicated task. Bigger things are more important. When applied to our lives now, this saying becomes a metaphor for problem solving and stress management in our life. It suggests that sometimes the best course of action is not to confront the problems or obstacles head on, especially when they're disproportionately complex or even resistant to change. Don't put that much effort into it. Instead, it might be wiser and more efficient and less stressful to find a way around them, to adapt our path rather than wasting energy on immovable obstacles. That could be in relationships. It could be in your work. It could be in tasks in the house, whatever, just everything in life. It has this kind of common sense. Now, it doesn't mean that we need to avoid all difficulties, but rather that we should pick our battles wisely, recognizing when circumvention might be more practical than confrontation. Life is simpler when you plow around the stump. So we need to avoid the obvious stumps ahead in life's path. We see them sticking up, but too often we just keep going that way and surprised when we slam into one like a brick wall. The wrongs of life are most times obvious. Just plow around and keep going to the greater goal. Number 4, are you ready? A bumblebee is considerably faster than a John Deere tractor. I love that. Meaning you can't escape dangers and obstacles in life. It's going to get you. I reached into Proverbs chapter 20, and here's what it said from Solomon. Avoiding strife brings a man honor, but every fool is quarrelsome. You can't outrun problems or disappointments. You can't. You can't insulate yourself from the reality of death and pain in life. Challenges will find you wherever you go, no matter what day of the week it is and what hour of the day may be, and how fast you're traveling. It's going to find you. However, it is nice to know that this is normal, and God has made you strong enough to endure and to conquer. So don't you worry about it. A few stingers will get you, but that's life. So pluck them out and begin the healing. All right, here's number 5. If you find yourself in a hole, the first thing to do is stop digging. Well, I've heard this so often. Meaning, we have the choice to stop bad decisions and weaknesses if we just try. Proverbs chapter 1 says this, because I called out to you and you refused to respond, I appealed, but no one paid attention. God is trying to share with us and try to show us to stop digging. Most problems are our own making. We know that. If we're honest with ourselves, we blame the pastor, we can blame our neighbor, we can blame a relative, we can blame a lot of things and a lot of circumstances, and the unfairness of life. But when we look in the mirror, we know where it all came from. We even know when we are digging the hole and wonder why we even started it, much less why we keep on digging, make it worse. Because we like control and freedom, and those two things get us in trouble most of the time. We become independent from God. So many leaders in the faith in the Bible to today even share the frustration of trying to do good and so often fail. And their struggle is just like ours. We don't give up, but we keep striving to be stronger. God's going to forgive. He will strengthen and help us out of those holes of failure and will redeem us. All right. If you find yourself in a hole, the first thing to do is stop digging. Let's go to number 6. Letting the cat out of the bag is a whole lot easier than putting it back in. Some of us have tried to do that. Meaning this, doing wrong is a whole lot easier than trying to make it right. Proverbs 15 says this, a gentle response diverts anger, but a harsh statement incites fury. The wise speak, presenting knowledge appropriately, but fools spout foolishness. Oh, Solomon does it again. Letting the cat out of the bag is a whole lot easier than putting it back in. Not only do we do wrong and wish we hadn't, but I found that often it's our tongue that gets us in trouble. We say it, we go, oh, I didn't mean to say that. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It's just an impulsive thought. But it's too late to take it back. Or too late, we're saying something and someone overhears us, and we're doing some kind of slander, or we're doing a rumor or something like that, and we offend someone when we're just trying to be popular, or we're I guess, irresponsible for the moment. So Letting your tongue get out of control is hurting and maiming other causes such destruction. I know I have done it many of them. The effort to make up for that mistake can be immense. To try to, you can't take it back, and the healing is slow. In fact, it could be impossible in some cases. Cats, like our tongue, can be very uncooperative. I've told my sons over and over, choices are free, but consequences are not. I need to learn that myself even more so. So, let's go to our next one, and we go to Lucky 7. Here it is. Sometimes you get, and sometimes you get got. I'll say it again. Sometimes you get, but sometimes you get got. Meaning, sometimes we achieve, and other times we get got. We fail so often. Proverbs 15 again says, plans fail without advice, but with many counselors they are confirmed. So it's possible to be successful. We can get, but sometimes we get got. Sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose. Sometimes you achieve, sometimes you fail. That's life, and you deal with it. Achieving and failing both have their positive and negative outcomes. Now, achieving, that's great. We all love that. Can bring good things and accomplishments and feel good about ourselves. But the danger of that side is getting too full of ourselves, thinking that it's all about us, that we did it all by ourselves. See, there's a two-edged sword to that. Now, then the possibility could be arrogance and independence, that God, that we'll take over from God. We've got it, God. And then on the other hand, though, failure gives us a sense of loss, and we're struggling with that. We don't like to lose. But on the other side of it, though, it gives us an opportunity to strengthen our faith and confidence to try again. It keeps on putting calluses on us. So once again, sometimes you get, and sometimes you get got. All right, let's go to number 8 here. Number 8, don't interfere with something that ain't bothering you none. I've heard that more. I've heard that from my parents so often. Meaning keep in your lane in your business, not other people's business. Stay in your lane. Proverbs 17 says, even a fool is thought to be wise when he remains silent. He is thought to be prudent when he keeps his mouth shut. Are you a policeman for the world? Do you have to straighten out every problem out there? You have an investment in it? You got an opinion about it? There are things you need to get involved in, and there are others that are none of your business. There are people's lives that you observe, you judge them, and say, that's not the way to live. And you say, I need to speak up. That's just wrong. Well, there's sometimes you need to do that. But many times it is none of your business. All you can do is pray and let God handle it in his own time and way. And that means physically getting involved and criticizing someone else behind their back. Know your boundaries and your responsibilities, and you'll be surprised how easy your life is. I find myself frustration all the time and trying to wanting to straighten people out. I've got the answer for their lives. Just ask me. No, don't ask me. I'll tell you anyway. I lose my patience, and it seems that others just don't care. So I just say, I'm going to tell you anyway because you need to hear my wisdom. And then I find out that I've made the situation worse. Now they've got the situation still wrong, and on top of that, they're mad at me. So now I can't help them at all. One of my favorite Western movies is called Hondo with John Wayne. He had a wonderful saying that applies here. Quote, a man ought to do what he thinks is best. Now this translates that people have decisions to do what they think is best and face the consequences. That is their choice. We can only advise, if allowed, and for sure set the example as a person of faith. All right. I'm going to do a couple more here and then we'll be over with. Number 9. Now this one we've all heard so many times. Don't count your chicken before they're hatched. Be wise, in other words, it says, on what you know and have before assuming more. Proverbs 23 says, don't exhaust yourself acquiring wealth. Be smart enough to stop. So never assume success before it happens. In farming as in life, there are many uncertainties. So this time-tested adage can trace its roots back to the farming communities, where it is carried in a very literal meaning. When a hen lays her eggs, a farmer might be tempted to count those eggs as chickens already, because they're eggs. They're bound to be chickens that coming out of this. But the truth is, not every egg will hatch successfully. In the wider context of life, the phrase warns against taking success for granted before it's been fully realized. It reminds us that many other variables and uncertainties that come in play in any situation. Now, those can happen no matter what, for good or bad situations. Good events we want to make the most of, but bad events can change our view on anything good that can come out of it. So don't count your chickens before they hatch. Let's do 3 more. Number 10. Back to chickens again. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Make sure everyone's saying the same one. Meaning, diversify your efforts or investments. If one crop fails, have others can be a lifeline in another field nearby. Proverbs 1:5 says, "Let the wise listen and increase their learning. Let the person of understanding receive guidance." The old saying, "Don't put all your eggs in one basket," embodies the wisdom of spreading risk to maximize potential losses. It conjures up the image of a farmer or a chicken owner placing all their eggs into a single basket, and that basket happens to fall or mishandled. All the eggs break, resulting in a total loss. However, if the eggs were distributed among several baskets, a mishap with one will result in the loss of only a few, not all of them. So this adage here is frequently used when discussing modern investments and finances and translate to modern times, but it's also diversifying an investment across all kind of things. We've told that to put all your money not into one mayonnaise jar, but put it out into all kind of investments. That way it will start growing for us. But let's look at the spiritual application of that. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Allow God to guide you how to spend your time, your money, your love, the blessings you have, will do the most. He's invested into you, and he's never given bad advice. He has given you riches. How do you invest them? How do you diversify them out into the world? Let him help you. All right, 2 more. Number 11, make hay while the sun shines. Meaning, take advantage of good conditions while you can. Opportunities may be lost forever if you don't. Proverbs 24 says this, "First do your outside work, preparing your land for yourself. After that, build your house." The right time. Oh, I don't know the literal meaning of this saying. Hay day is always the hottest day of the year, or so it seems when I have helped out in the hayfield. Make hay while the sun shines is an adage that communicates a very critical truth about agriculture and life of that day. Haymaking is heavily dependent on dry conditions. After mowing the grass, the farmer needs about 3 clear sunny days for the cut vegetation to dry out and become hay. If the hay is baled too soon while it's still moist, it could rot in the sunshine by bacterial fermentation, so it'll be ruined. Consequently, they must seize the opportunity provided by the dry, sunny day to make their hay an ideal condition. May not last, but it may rain the next day. Extrapolating this to a much broader life scenario, the saying implies to us that we should make good use of opportunities and favorable conditions while they last, as they may not remain forever. It encourages proactive action and a keen awareness of our circumstances. Timing is everything. When opportunities come our way to serve God, we got to seize them. When opportunity comes up to make a phone call, an opportunity to come up to testify about our faith and to tell people about it, when it's the right timing, that's when it's time to create and to mow down that vegetation and turn it into hay, because you only got just a short period of time to do it. because God has opened that door for you. So in your prayer life, pray for God to give you those sunny days, those sunny moments that are just right, that he has prepared just for you to serve him. All right, let's get to our last one, number 12, okay? You reap what you sow. Oh, this is an old one. I mean, I tell you, it's been around a long time. Hard work, it says, and dedication will eventually pay off, but the laziness or shortcuts will lead to problems down the line. I reached into Proverbs chapter 6 for another verse from Solomon. It says this, I love it. Go to the ant, you lazy man. Observe its ways and become wise. So he reached down into the ant. You know how industrious they are. The proverb, you reap what you sow, is a fundamental principle that voices in farming communities, but its relevance extends far beyond agriculture. In the context of farming, the saying emphasizes that the quality and quantity of the harvest is directly proportional to the seeds sown and the efforts investing in their nurturing of them. If a farmer plants plenty of healthy seeds and diligently tends to them, then they'll likely enjoy a bountiful harvest. It's a mathematical equation, is it not? On the other hand, if they sow sparingly, carelessly, or not at all, the yield will be poor or not even existent, actually. So when applied to our life, though, this phrase encapsulates the law of cause and effect. You've heard that before, suggesting that the consequences of our actions are a reflection of the action themselves. If we invest time, energy, and dedication into our work, relationships, or personal development, or our faith walk, we'll eventually see positive outcomes. The work put in is what you get out of it. As Proverbs pointed out, the tiny ant can remind us that we use our resources to make a difference. We are not to sit back and let God do all the work. That's why he put us here. We are his beloved ants, full of gifts and strength to be tenacious to do his work. All right, that's the 12 of the first lesson. We'll have another 12 or so next week. That's the first. Insightful sayings from our past and from the wisdom of Solomon in Proverbs. Hope you found some nuggets of insights of your spiritual walk with our Lord. As a reminder, if these sayings from our parents and grandparents have formed your life and your faith today, then I wonder what proverbial sayings from you are doing the same with those who hear you. What legacy are you leaving behind? Well, may God bless you. Hope you enjoyed these. I enjoyed writing them. Next week, 12 more. But there are some are really funny. Hope you enjoyed this. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.